The new patch brought us small changes with a big impact on the meta. In this video, I will show you the strongest champions for every role. Let's start off with Baron lane. The biggest change this patch is definitely the HULLBREAKER nerfs. Specifically, the massive nerf on the magic resist. This is a big nerf to split pushing Baron laners and a big buff to magic damage tank Baron laners. The biggest beneficiary of this change is the newest champion, Oren. Oren was already very strong on release, but the HULLBREAKER nerfs will allow him to easily defend the side lanes so he can have even more impact in teamfights. In the early game, you just want to farm up and get your core tank items. You still have a lot of damage, so if your opponent disrespects your burst and overextends, you can look for solo kills. You also have very good gank setup and CC, so ping your jungler to come and gank for you. You shine the hardest in teamfights. Oren has the best engage in the game with his ultimate, and his massive range allows you to catch out enemies out of position with your ult. The buffs to lethality items and the buffs to his damage last patch have pushed Khazix into god tier. Even on the previous patch, he was one of the most played champions in competitive, and with the buffs to Youmuu's and Serpent's Fang, he will deal even more damage. In the early game, you just want to farm up. You clear your jungle very quickly. You want to get your ultimate and first ability upgrade as soon as possible. Your burst damage on isolated targets in the early game is very high, so you can play aggressive and look for invades and ganks. In the mid game, your goal is to find enemies out of position and one-shot them. Make sure you keep farming your jungle camps. Khazix clears the jungle extremely quickly. His first ability is also amazing at taking down dragons, herald and baron extremely quickly. In the mid game, like most assassins, you want to catch out enemies out of position and burst them down. In teamfights, try to get a flank position and assassinate the enemy carries, using your third ability research to jump in and out of the fight. You can also upgrade your second ability to poke and kite the enemy team and allow your team to get a good engage off. Khazix won't be the only assassin in god tier. Zed is absolutely dominating with the new buffs to Youmuu's and Serpent's Fang. Zed has been an S tier mid laner for a long time, but with the buffs to his core items, he's finally the strongest mid laner. His early game is pretty weak until he gets his ultimate, but after level 5, you can one-shot enemies from full HP if you hit all your spells. Zed has incredible roams after he gets Youmuu's, so if the enemy mid laner is playing safe, you should roam and snowball other lanes. In the mid game, Zed will be even stronger because of the HULLBREAKER nerfs. Zed will once again be able to dominate the side lanes instead of struggling versus HULLBREAKER champions. In teamfights, just like most assassins, you want to flank the enemy team and kill their carries. Play around with your shadows and deal insane AoE damage. I would also like to give a shout out to Fizz. The buff on his third ability has made him extremely strong if he's able to snowball. For the ADC position in the dragon lane, Ezreal is still the strongest. Not much changed for ADCs since the last patch other than a few nerfs, so Ezreal will continue being the best. His mobility, damage and range are unmatched. He's able to do a lot of physical and magic damage, so it's hard to itemize against him. His early game is pretty strong and he only gets stronger as the game progresses. He has both high burst and high DPS. For supports, Pike not only remains as the god tier champion of the patch, but he's even stronger now. With the buffs to Youmuu's and Serpent's Fang, he has even more damage and build options. He's the best support for carrying and snowballing games. You have to make sure that you are abusing your strong early game and snowballing through roaming. Then, in teamfights, you're a monster with your execute ultimate resets. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment below which champion you think will be strong in this patch, and subscribe for more Wild Rift content.